the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. This weekend celebrating its 25th year. Honoring the game's greatest champion and tournament host, Naadi Alvarado Sr. It's known as the Festival of Handball, highlighting one-wall, three-wall, and four-wall handball. Today we focus on four-wall action, as two Irish players are the current U.S. Open champions, taking both the men and women's U.S. Open titles back home with them just 1 year ago. Five-time world champion Paul Brady is known as the Gunner, and for a good reason. Only losing just 2 completed singles matches in 12 years, he shows no sign of slowing down. And 2014 reigning U.S. Open women's champion Katrina Casey, the only player to have ever started a race event and never lost a match, possessing 2 quality strong hands and the ability to make match-changing adjustments on the biggest of stages. Ultimately, it's these two, Brady, Casey, who have their opponents trying to take the upper hand and consecutive titles away from them this weekend. You are watching the World Players of Handball on ESPN3, broadcasting live from Fountain Valley, California's Los Caballeros Sports Village, and ready for action.
And welcome to the Los Caballeros Sports Village, beautiful Fountain Valley, California. My name is Dave Vincent alongside David Fink for a super Saturday of fun as the WPH Live TV film crew capturing the action here on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app for the race for a kickoff of the Pro Tour season as well as the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. This is the weekend serve. Now, Dave, we have a great lineup today. There's a lot of stuff happening later on this evening, but we won't be able to know what's going to go on there until we take care of some of these earlier matches. And boy, I mean, we've got the 4 best players in the world starting off the day with Robbie McCarthy and Luis Moreno, and then Paul Brady going up against Shawn. It's going to be a hoot.
Well, Dave, it's a spectacular venue here, incredible weather. The players are just relishing the opportunity to be here and to play on the biggest stage in handball. We have the 4 best men's players in the world competing this morning in the men's semifinals. And Dave, let's get right to it. Luis Moreno, the American #1, taking on Robbie McCarthy, the current world doubles champion and arguably the 2nd or 3rd best player in the sport. These guys are exactly the same age. They played each other coming up through the juniors. They've had a tremendous rivalry. They've played twice in the last 19 months, with McCarthy winning both those matches, and Luis Moreno will be looking to turn back that rivalry in his favor this morning.
Okay, so Luis Moreno and Robbie McCarthy, from my perspective, they seem like they are almost identical. You kind of look at it a little bit different. You think Robbie McCarthy is more like an Alan Garner, who's got a lot of upper body strength, got a lot of power off balance with his offhand. He's able to grind out matches due to his physical stature, a little bit more oomph in his body compared to Luis Moreno. But I see them as both being able to do the natural gifts, that the flips of the hands, the unbelievable power from what seemingly looks like it's coming from nowhere. And to me, it seems like they're a little bit more equal than what most people at home may believe. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts. You've played against both of them, so you know what the real feeling is like.
Well, certainly there's a lot of similarities between both their games, but physically they're not all that similar. Robbie McCarthy, like you said, is a little bit thicker. He's probably a little bit naturally stronger, but both guys have an amazing ability to retrieve balls. They get to almost everything, and they both have great touch with those shots up in the front. Both guys with tremendous left hands. There are some differences. I think Luis Moreno's serve, when it's on, is probably a little bit better. Robbie McCarthy, maybe a little bit steadier, using the walls and the ceiling. But, Dave, it's really anybody's game when these two get together. It's hard to predict. I'm predicting a great match, which is a win for everyone.
Well, that was my next question. What is the prediction from you? I mean, it's almost impossible to come out and say it, right? I mean, I feel that Robbie McCarthy has the slight edge just because he's had more success here recently. Moreno, at times yesterday, looked like he was the old Moreno, and then at times it seemed like not. But you could say that about a lot of players in this bracket so far because it's been lopsided one way and then dominant in another 15 minutes later.
Well, I don't think in all the thousands of matches we broadcast we've ever seen a match like the one Luis Moreno won yesterday, where he's down 15-5 in the first game, seemingly just completely out of sorts, somehow wins that game, then gets thrashed 21-3 in the second game. He's down 7-1 in the tiebreaker. You think, well, this is completely over, and yet he comes back to score 10 of the last 11 points. And there he is, the one standing after trailing for 97% of the match. He comes back and wins. Robbie McCarthy was in control yesterday against Emmett Pichotte. You remember, Dave, the last time these two played, it was the match of the year in 2014, the finals of the Players' Championship. Luis Moreno was 2 points from winning that match at 19-19 in the second game. He ends up taking a 5-0 lead in the tiebreaker, and he loses. So Robbie McCarthy became the Players' Champion that year. Robbie McCarthy, in 4 race starts before this event, Dave, 2 firsts, a second, and a fifth. The guy's been outstanding. Luis Moreno, 9 race titles in 27 starts. That's tied for the most of all time with Paul Brady.
Yeah, they have great records, and we're going to have to see how it all fares out as we look at Robbie McCarthy here warming up early at the Los Caballeros Sports Village show court. Now, this is called the Weekend Serve. We have another segment coming up next. Dave, go ahead and introduce our next segment as we get it moving on here. We have about 25 minutes or so until this match actually starts.
Our next match following Luis Moreno and Robbie McCarthy, Shawn Lenning and Paul Brady. They've played 2 of the best matches we've ever seen on this very court, 2007 in the finals and then 2012 in the semifinals. Paul Brady winning both of those, 11-10 in 2007. Just unbelievable. It was a kind of match that I believe set Shawn back 3 or 4 years. It was just such a heartbreaking loss. Shawn led 7-1 in that tiebreaker, then 10-7. You remember there was that kind of controversial skip or didn't it skip. Shawn sort of let it get in his head at 7-1. Paul Brady got back into the tiebreaker when he looked like he was out of it. And then in 2012, Shawn Lenning didn't seem like he was playing his best handball. He went to Ireland, seemed like he wasn't even really into it, yet he comes here 2 weeks later and almost beats Paul Brady, including a 21-6 second game victory, which I don't know if we've ever seen against Paul Brady, certainly not in the last 12 years. So recently, though, when it seems like Shawn's been playing at his very best, Paul Brady has just completely dominated him. You remember in Houston this year, they played in the finals, and Shawn Lenning really unable to get out of the blocks. Paul Brady just dominating that match, and it seems like Paul Brady is here to make a statement. You saw what he did to Armando Ortiz yesterday, a guy who had beaten him just about a year and a half ago, 21-2, 21-4, and it wasn't that close. And when Paul Brady is on that mission, what can you do? Maybe Shawn Lenning's the only guy that can do anything about it.
Now, we've had a lot of people talk about Paul Brady's streak of, is it really 2 or is it 3 losses in the last 6 years, 7 year, 10-year span? It's more like about 6 losses, but I guess the point would be that Paul Brady has won so much and he's dominated so much that he has gotten into the heads of players, much like Tiger Woods did, when he broke out after coming out of college and getting into the pros. And
I don't agree with that about Tiger Woods. He had the lowest scoring average, so therefore he won. I mean, isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah,
what does it have to do with anything? I mean, but that's a subject for another time. But, Dave, I can't wait to watch both these matches this morning. Paul Brady yesterday, just sitting here as a fan, as a broadcaster, I was thinking to myself, how could anyone do any better than Armando Ortiz did? Armando Ortiz was playing great handball coming into that match, and he barely scored. And I don't know what he could have done differently. In fact, talking to Mondo after the match, I don't think he knew what he could have done differently. I think it starts with anticipation. Armando was not able to read Paul's serve at all, so he was leaning the wrong way almost every time. Shawn Lenning's got that great feel for the game. If he can pick up on something with Paul's serve, either whether he's going left or right, it'll give him a better chance at least get into the rally, and then Shawn's got to get that serve going, because Shawn also has an amazing serve. But unless he's in the service box repeatedly getting in a rhythm, it's not going to matter.
This is called the Weekend Serve. That match is going to come up at 11 o'clock Pacific time. It's Paul Brady versus Shawn Lenning, and the way that Paul played yesterday, I don't know how anybody's going to beat him, but if there was one person to do that, it would be Shawn Lenning. The next segment, Dave, let's go ahead and roll right into it.
Right now we're going to show you Timbo Gonzalez, the big ball, one-wall, #1 star, playing handball with NBA superstar Blake Griffin.
That's the one?
From the Clippers.
Okay.
We're going to check that out right now. When we come back, Dave, we're going to have the Hall of Famer, the head referee here, the guy who's won multiple world championships, John Bike, stepping in this very booth.
Okay, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's go to this Blake Griffin. It's a very localized video with Red Bull TV, as they got with the #1 big ball outdoor star, Timothy Gonzalez, and this is what they gave us.
Welcome back to the 2015 Simple Green U.S. Open here in beautiful Fountain Valley, California. I'm Dave Fink alongside Dave Vincent, and Dave, we're privileged to be joined by Hall of Famer and our very good friend, John Bike. John, You're not only one of the best players to ever play this game, you also have helped to build this tournament into one of the best events in handball, and you're the head referee here. What does this mean to be here and have your family involved and have you involved in the sport that you love so much?
How much time I got to answer that, David?
For
30
a Hall
seconds.
of Famer, as much as you need.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like the handball version of Circle of Life, I guess. I grew up idolizing Naadi, started competing with him, then worked my way into his family.
Then married his daughter.
Not playing anymore. Yeah, it's just awesome. And now I'm a part of his family, and by extension, I'm still able to contribute to this event as head referee. It's awesome.
You mentioned Naadi Alvarado Sr., the greatest living player in handball. He's also the tournament host. This is the 25th year honoring Naadi Alvarado Sr., your father-in-law. Just an incredible gentleman who did so much for the game as a player and now maybe even more as an organizer and as an ambassador.
Yeah, everyone wondered, what's he going to do? What can you do to fill that? You're the best player in the world. You're the best competitor. You're getting the juices flowing. What's going to happen when he's done? And he's certainly very much through this and his family activities. He's chugging along, doing more than ever. I believe I played the second of those 25.
But
too,
here's
so
that's another one of those weird things where you say, what is Naadi Alvarado's legacy?
Mm-hmm.
Is it being the greatest player of all time when he was on the professional tour and that great ambassador of the game, or is it that after where he's brought handball into the world of ESPN and that taking that ambassadorship into a whole different level? I mean, is that his legacy now? Because in a lot of ways, there's some newcomers that are coming up that think Naadi Alvarado Sr. is the man. When there's some guys that we talk to that might be 50, 40 years old or older that say he's the man. For a different reason.
Different reasons.
Yeah.
And from our perspective, he's the man because he's the patriarch of our family. So
right.
That's number one to us.
So it's pretty interesting.
And I got to see player, director, father, grandfather.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Naadi Alvarado is an incredible gentleman, great ambassador of the sport. But, John, we have some incredible matches here today, starting off with Luis Moreno and Robbie McCarthy. I know you're looking forward to that one. You've been working on the court, working with your referees. What do you expect this morning? You got McCarthy, Moreno, Shawn and Paul Brady, four of the best of the last 10 or 15 years.
I was just talking to an Irish gentleman over at the check-in desk, and the way he described Robbie's game was pretty much the way I would describe Luis's. It's hard to predict because they're both capable of running 15 points at anybody, and the other's also true. They can be scored on. They can be had as well.
Really a toss-up match. The second match, Paul Brady looked maybe as good yesterday in his mid-30s as we've ever seen him. Took apart Armando Ortiz, who had beaten him about 19 months ago. Armando Ortiz has wins against virtually everyone in the sport, and he made him look like they weren't even in the same class. How do you explain that?
Yeah, it's just the BAW theory. You just can't fight it. Brady always wins. And I will say for Shawn, and his father made the same observation I did, the book on Shawn is if you can keep him on the court, maybe disinterest or fatigue, you might take him. And Killian's the best there is at that. And Shawn took everything he had.
A master at it.
You can't speak more highly of Shawn than to talk about how he grinded yesterday when he had to.
That's a good point. Yeah, and also Moreno too, because he sometimes has that same sort of mentality that Lenning does, where you keep him on the court, either going to get disinterested or wore down somehow, but he also grinded it out and got a win.
We've talked a lot about Paul Brady, five-time current world champion, defending world champion. He's won everything. He's only lost 2 matches in 12 years. But Shawn Lenning, somewhat quietly over the last 6 months, is having one of the best all-around seasons of all time. He's the one-wall world champion. He's the 3-wall WPH outdoor crossover champion. He's the 3-wall national champion. He's the 4-wall WPH players champion. John, have you ever seen this kind of run in recent handball history over all the different codes?
I don't believe I have. This is, I think, what some people envisioned for Shawn years ago, and now he's fulfilling it, and it's great to see. But, you can't envision, it's not fair to put those expectations in someone because there's also people as talented as Brady and Moreno. Only one guy can win. There's 6 or 7 potential champs. One winner.
Dave, are we going to leave John in here because it's nice having you in, and I know you have some referee duties to, kind of going off right now. I don't know who's going to be the lead ref for this first match between McCarthy.
Luis Cordova, your number one pick.
All right, so we have that coming up right around the corner. We're going to take a quick break because we want to talk about the outdoor game, and I'd like to keep you here if we can. So We're on the weekend serve, Dave, which
Yeah.
is I love the weekend edition of this because we always bring out some good stuff. We're going to go out to that outdoor game right around the corner because that's really one of the most interesting things about the U.S. Open here at the Simple Green in Fountain Valley, California. We're going to talk about that in just a bit. Stick around.
I got to go in there ready to play.
Now it's 11-11. The winner will win the cup, and it all comes down to this.
Everything on the line on this point, Dave, all season for 1 point.
It's Juan Santos again. It's Juan Santos.
Welcome back to the Weekend Serve. John, thank you for staying with us. The Hall of Famer, John Bike, the head tournament referee, Dave Vincent, Dave Fink. John, let's talk about the outdoor play here at the U.S. Open. When this tournament started in 2006, it was just 4-wall. You then added 3-wall courts on the center court, the tennis court. There's 3-wall courts also in the back. Now 3 1-wall courts. There's players from all over the world traveling here from New York, from right here in Southern California and everywhere else, Ireland. What has the outdoor game meant to this amazing event here at the Simple Green U.S. Open?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I would say in 2006 no one could have envisioned this, but I have a feeling Naadi Sr. was. He was, little by little, it got to this point where I just left 2 8 a.m. matches. I even made my Facebook photo for the day with Samson and Timbo, 2 legends in their respective sports, side by side, punching in at 8 a.m. to get their day beginning because they got singles, doubles all day long.
Let's talk about Samson and Timbo because Samson has owned this tournament in 3-wall. Timbo has owned this tournament in 1-wall. They'll both be aiming to defend their titles here this year. Samson not quite as great this season because of Juan Santos, who's also in the draw, and Timbo just seems to have a way of winning all the biggest events in 1-wall.
Yeah, the matches I see, I mean, Timbo, I don't think I've ever seen him lose. And now Samson and Santos, from what I see, I've gotten to watch 2 of those head-to-head, and one was a Samson blowout, and the other was Santos got in the match and got to.
Well, we have Kadeem also here as well, and Taiwan Cook. So, if you're talking about the best 1-wall big ball players in the world, we have them right on the site here. And what's interesting is because the sport isn't as popular as some of these mainstream sports. You see tennis stars walk by in years past. We saw Maria Sharapova walk by, and it was just unbelievable. We have the best athletes in the world. And you saw that video just a little bit earlier with Blake Griffin, and he's with Timbo Gonzalez. And Timbo just recently got beat by Kadeem, who's here, and he's playing exceptional handball at the moment. And these guys are walking by, and we see some tennis players stopping to say, now these guys look like real athletes.
Yeah.
Right.
And it kind of validates the sport just a little bit here. But it's, when you come into this facility, you almost feel like you're at like an NFL training facility or some type of accelerated sports agency training facility, right? Because you see all of these pro athletes here. It's pretty amazing.
A quick share as quickly as I can. I remember when Sharapova came through to train and the buzz.
We took the headsets off and ran.
We had something similar. today I had or yesterday in the water line, I wanted to refill with the Kagan water. I thought it was a huge line, but Timbo got his water and the whole line went with him. It was just his entourage. It was similar to the Sharapova experience.
That happened to me at the movie theater one time.
Oh, you're minimizing my point here.
Well, I'm just I guess I would say
so you and
validating.
Timbo.
Validating it.
Wow.
No, it didn't happen to me. It happened to me. Timbo was in front.
Was
his
in front.
entourage.
Okay.
It's hard to get those tickets.
We also have the best women's players in the world playing 4-wall and 1-wall. In fact, 1-wall, we have the current national champion, Sandy Ng, taking on the current world champion, Danielle Daskalakis. Now, they're both in the semifinals as they walk by here. As you said, Dave, the celebrities are abound. They're likely to play each other in the finals. They've had some amazing matches this summer already, and it'll be a continuation of that most likely tomorrow morning. We've got Katrina Casey taking on Aisling Riley right behind us in the 4-wall finals this evening. And to me, Dave, the women's matches are often the most exciting of all.
Yeah,
incredible.
They really are, and I know we have a short segment here, and we'd love to talk about this more.
What does this mean?
We have to go. we have a match that's going to start, so we have to wrap up the weekend serve. And throughout the day-to-day, we will talk about the women's matchups and more of this outdoor stuff, but we really do need to go to that show court. So let's wrap up the weekend serve. John Bike, thanks for having us here in the broadcast booth here on ESPN3 as we give you the app on Watch ESPN streaming live today for the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. For Dave Fink, John Bike, my name is Dave Vincent. We'll have that opening here as Robbie McCarthy from Ireland and Luis Moreno take center stage in just a few seconds right here at the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. Stick around.
Now, when you take the ultimate leap of faith from the top of the stratosphere, you could be our 200,000th sky jumper. An extreme adrenaline rush is just the beginning. You could win a 7-day Mexican cruise, a 3-night stay at Stratosphere, and a Take Vegas Back party package. Put Sky Jump at the top of your bucket list. Book your jump now at the Stratosphere. Visit stratospherehotel.com for details.
The Tucson Racket and Fitness Club is your home away from home. Work out, relax, and refuel. All this and more can be yours. Call us at 795-6960 or visit TucsonRacketClub.com. The Tucson Racket and Fitness Club, where country club road ends and fitness begins.